So we're over here doing the 90 plus plus over here on the NA side of things, and you guys know me, whenever a 90 plus plus comes out, I like to drop a little guide showing the runs that I'm doing, because I'm always trying to do some weird run where I'm trying to bond up specific units, so I'm like trying to find a way to force them to be able to do it, and for this one, it's no different. I'm still working on getting Morgan to that Bond 15 vibe aesthetic, because, you know, as Morgan's wife over here, I gotta be able to have her Bond 15 to show that I'm the biggest Morgan enjoyer on the planet. So this is a little bit of a rough one, because not only is the middle node featuring a foreigner, which is strong against Morgan being a berserker, but then Doman at the very end really doesn't have anything that Morgan can use. You know, we haven't made Doman a Knight of the Round Table yet. He's no longer, or never was, a Fae, and we're having a hard time getting him to be man attribute. So it is a little bit rough for Morgan on this one, but because I have not gotten my bonus CE drop yet, and I mean, we're already way into the event, you know, where we farmed, you know, a good couple of boxes, got the 100, you know, where I can roll it like that many times and all that good stuff. Still haven't gotten a bonus CE drop, but that does give me the excuse that I'm able to use the damage CE over here. Now you may be saying, well, ZTL, how is this going to work? Because isn't this going to be a 3-turn farm? You know, we have like 3 different waves to go through, and Morgan doesn't have a big 100% battery. She's not going to be able to do what is effectively Black Grail farming, because Black Grail farming is just farming when you start off with 0% NP. Well, thankfully, because of how this node is built out, the first wave is one singular enemy, so you can kind of use this to kind of view it as a 2-turn farm. You only need your character to clear waves 2 and 3 if you're doing Buster farming, and thankfully, with Morgan having 50%, in each individual Koya and Skya having 50%, and then Oberon having 70%, that's not going to be a problem. Now, I did also want to kind of just go through this to kind of show some of the oddities of Buster farming, because you would think, well, maybe we're going to like save some of our buffs for some of these future nodes, but in actuality, we really do need Morgan to have this skill up for the final wave, otherwise it becomes a bit of a roll. Yes, I know, even at level 120, even when you have all the gold foes into this character, you know, you've invested everything, NP5, she's still going to need this skill up. She's going to need to loop it again for the 3rd wave, unless, you know, you want to rely on getting some face cards with your Morgan, which I don't want to do. You know, I don't want to have these rolls. I would like to guarantee to get through these nodes. So realistically, all we have to do for this one is pop our Morgan's Charisma, and then we pop this just to guarantee that we're getting some crits, just to make sure that we actually take this guy out, and then we just go accordingly. You know, you can click whatever cards you want. Doesn't need to be the arts cards or anything, because, you know, I know some people will be like, well, what about, is that extra NP refund going to come in collection? No, not really. We have so much NP available to us that it does not matter which cards you get. I mean, Buster is nice because we just like doing big crits. Now, here's where things start to get a little bit interesting, because this is where I was having a little bit of trouble with Morgan, because I was trying to find a way to get a consistent like kill on this foreigner Koyan's guy over here. Even in my farming nodes, this freak over here is always giving me troubles. But essentially all we got to do is we could go ahead, I mean, this like 20% doesn't really matter, but I just like using it. That's just, you know, you see a skill, you got to click it. That's like the FGO player syndrome, right? Where you're like, dude, I see button, I must click. I have to click the button. But the important part here is to go ahead and get all of this Koyan Sky stuff used, because we're not really using it for the battery, we're using it to get the skill on cooldown, because again, it is mission critical that we get that for the final node. And so now one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and plug suit in the Oberon, because all we need to do is maintain that we have this 50% right here, and we have her 50%. That essentially will allow us to guaranteed fire our NP next turn. That's also on top of us getting this 30% back. But again, this isn't coming back for the battery. We just straight up need that for damage. Now, we'll go ahead and pop the rest of Koyan Sky's skills over here. The good Koyan Sky, the nice Koyan Sky, not the freaky Koyan Sky over here that is always messing up my polls and is always getting out here and ruining my farming setups. Now, depending on the role, this should actually drop this Koyan Dark over here. I've had some where she lives on like 5k HP, which is wild, because all it is like type disadvantage. You know, look at that, 945. So, like, it doesn't matter what cards you get, but it is still baffling to me that she has the, I guess, animosity towards myself, where she's like, nah, I'm gonna live on 945 HP. I'm not gonna go down. It doesn't matter what card you have at that point. Anything's gonna take her out, but it's just the raw defiance that gets me, you know? And then for this one, we can go ahead and just drop Koyan Sky's battery right there, and then we go in and we use some of Morgan's things over here. But I like doing these runs because I think for some people that don't have the craziest boxes, like obviously for me, I could do this way easier. There are way easier ways that I could, get through these nodes for myself. My box is like fairly decent, and I have, all the support, so I could do that. But there's probably people like me that are like, nah, I want to use my favorite characters. They're like, if I'm doing this lotto farming, this is a great chance to start bonding up some of these characters and get some extra Saint quartz for some incoming characters, right? Every bond level over bond 10 does net you 30 Saint quartz, and we do have some pretty banger banners coming out right after this. But yeah, as you can see, that guarantee drops them. So if you're in that position where you're like, man, I'm really just trying to utilize this character to their fullest abilities, and I want to, try to get them to farm this node, I just like doing these videos because I think they're kind of neat to show that, yeah, even if you are just super determined to try to get a specific character to get through one of these nodes, it is possible. It might be a little awkward at times, but sometimes, fate just gives you, a way to be able to do it. And having one enemy at the beginning that is only at 80k HP is not all that bad. If you're using somebody that is not Morgan, that actually has power mods on some of these enemies, I would imagine the damage CE is not even remotely needed, right? Like, say, I don't know, you're using somebody like Summer Ibuki, right? Like, you've built her out a lot. You might have a similar instance on the second node where it's going to be a little bit harder for her to get through because, Berserker into Foreigner, but she should still be able to get, like, those crits down on that initial wave and take that guy out. 80k is, like, not all that large in regards to being able to take somebody out with some face cards, or if you're just trying to use a really cheap support, somebody, or not support, but, like, wave clear in somebody like Arash. That can also be very helpful because 87,000 is kind of in that range where Arash should be able to take those enemies down. He should be able to get that stuff done for you. But even in regards to like people like Chen Gong, right? Like if you're trying to gong your way through things, this might be a little rough for him because of the Doman at the end and being neutral going into it. But hey, that's for somebody that in the comments, if they're like, nah, I'm doing it. I'm using the Chen Gong. I'm getting through there. I'm gonna gong all over the place. But yeah, I just like doing these runs. Every time we get these 90+ pluses, I have a playlist of all the clears that I do for different 90+ pluses and events, just because sometimes I think it is helpful, because I do know that, while there are like all these optimal things that I'll see, it's like, this is the optimal 6 CE drop one. Well, for one, I haven't gotten any additional drops, which kind of sucks, because we're moving into some of the good nodes, and I would like to have my optimal drops before I start getting into using, my silver and gold apples. I'd ideally like to be doing this pretty optimally, but if that's not in the cards, then you can at least use other things that you have at your disposal, especially because this is the worst node. Like, who cares how like crazy you're going through, right? It's just here to be like, all right, it's something to farm until we actually get the good nodes that give us the maximum drop rates and, well, are just frankly easier to get through and farm because the enemies just aren't nearly as large. But let me know in the comment section down below as well, because this is something that, like, this is the run that I've been doing and kind of been having fun with, because using your favorite characters, that's pretty, in line with what Fate wants you to do. So I'm just curious at what runs you guys are doing, who you're using. Are you trying to bond farm people? Are you kind of going out of your way to use a servant that is not particularly good in the farming setup, but you're just trying to get some usage out of them? I like to hear all that in the comment section down below, because I love to see what people are running. Some person's like, I'm going to be doing my Super Orion run, where even though I know it's a 5-turn clear, I just like punching these people. I just like having my big brawlic Chad Orion just get out there and just beat up all these other servants, which, hey, you know what? If that's your prerogative, that's your prerogative. But if you are currently struggling and you do not have a farming setup, there is still about like 8 hours left for this node. And if you have questions, we have a Discord link down in the description down below. We have an FGO channel where I'm sure if I'm not available, somebody else can help you put together something. Because realistically, when they give you just these really strong CEs to farm the event, you should be able to get through it, right? Like, you should, like, I don't want to say not have any excuse, but they're really setting you up for failure on this one. Excuse me, oh my goodness. You should not have any excuse for failure on this one, because, they're giving you the Powermod CE, they're giving you the one with the riding power mod that really does benefit you going into a lot of these different nodes. And so if you do need help putting that together, that's something we can help you out with. And as per usual, like the video, subscribe, and yeah, we'll start moving into some of these other nodes and whatever is going on over on JP. I was going to drop the speculation video, but who knows? I'm just ready to be surprised. There's like 50 billion different things that could be. So let's just see what it's going to be. I'll just wait until they actually officially drop it. But enough yapping from me, enough yammering on. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace. Late, guys.